In the meantime, tomorrow, we have a meeting. I'll send you the details, and I want you to be there first thing in the morning. Got it? Mike tells Jesse. Yeah, got it. And Mike, Gus, he isn't gonna, Jesse's just worrying for Walter's safety. That is completely up to him. But we'll be in touch. Mike says, hanging up the phone. And while in the safe house, things between Walter and Mike get heated, with him pleading to save Hank's life, saying, Mike, please, my brother-in-law does not have to die for what I've done. Please, if you just let me know, Walter. Mike says, sternly, cutting off Walter and pointing his finger. There's nobody to blame here but you. So no matter how hard you beg or cry or try to reason with me, it's not going to change a thing. So just sit down, shut your mouth before I shut it for you. Mike finishes sitting back in his chair, and Walter remains quiet, hoping, no, praying that Hank will be okay. But in the back of his mind, he knows that Gus wasn't bluffing. And so with no other choice, Walter obeys Mike's orders, and the two wait until the next day. Over at the Trader residence, Hank sits home alone, still recovering from the Salamanca twins attack, so he's mostly bedbound. And during this time, Maria's out running her supposed errands because ever since Hank's been in recovery, he hasn't been in the best of moods.
Maria said Cheetos, not Fritos.
So to avoid any potential arguments, she spends her afternoon going to open houses and stealing keepsakes again. But this afternoon, because Saul never called the DEA, there wouldn't be any worry about Hank being in danger, which Gus's men used to their advantage as they visit Hank's home and easily sneak him back. And while making their way to the house, Hank wouldn't be fast enough to react when seeing two random guys in his doorway, and two bullets will be fired from a silencer pistol, hitting Hank in the chest and soaking his bed sheets with his own blood. And before they leave, they make the job look like a home invasion that resulted in the death of Hank. And after slightly trashing the place, Gus's men would leave the same way they came in. And while that's going on, Marie's at an open house, and her klepto days just aren't what they used to be because she ends up getting arrested for stealing again. I don't know what it is about those spoons, but I think I have to have one now.
I know you stole that spoon.
So after getting booked, Marie makes her one phone call to Hank, but he doesn't answer. And she's able to call again, but once again, there's no answer. Luckily for her, Detective Tim Roberts is there and he gives Hank a call, but his calls are also getting forwarded to voicemail, and Marie says, maybe Hank's at home and he needs help, and that's why he's not answering, because that's very unlike Hank not to answer. Maybe you could send someone to check on him. And just as a courtesy to Marie, Tim Roberts would call Steve Gomez to check on Hank. And Gomez, who's not that far away, would arrive at Hank's house to find out that the front door has been kicked in, along with papers flying out in the driveway. And he calls for backup before drawing his gun and slowly walking inside. And he calls out, Hank? Hank, can you hear me? But all he can hear is the TV that's in the other room. And he slowly approaches Hank's door and he calls out again, Hank, for the love of God, say something. And as he goes to open the door, Gomez finds Hank shot dead in his own bed with the blood now dripping from the sheets. And he quickly runs over to Hank to check his pulse, but Gomez, he's just too late. And he radios in that Hank is down and medical attention is needed. He would then take a few deep breaths before reaching out to Detective Tim Roberts to break the news to Marie. And she would completely break down in Tim's arms after hearing the news of her husband's death. And given the current circumstances, along with her relationship with the DEA, her charges would all be dropped. And instead of her going home because her house is now considered a crime scene, Skylar would be the person to pick her up from the station. But Hank's death is not easy news for anyone to handle, as even Skylar gets emotional learning about Hank's death. And almost instinctively, she tries to call Walter, but in usual fashion, she gets no answer. And she also begins to worry for his safety as well, wondering if her husband would share the same fate as her brother-in-law, especially with the line of business that Walter's in, and not to mention that he's still bruised up from this fight with
We understand an upside-down world, but they're writing us off before we get to the starting line. A stalled generation. Who do you think is going to fix all this? We will, because our future is the future. The next greatest generation is now.
Rainbow sprinkles, jammy filling, and frosting? Friends, Pop-Tarts, pastry mates, lend me your ears.
Oh boy, we're going off the crust again.
Did we get it? I think we got it.
Pop-Tarts! Crazy good.
Jesse. But in the meantime, Skylar holds herself together for the sake of Marie, and after picking her up from the station, they would talk in her office at the car wash. Marie, you cannot blame yourself for what happened. Skylar says, comforting her sister. It is Sky. If I wasn't... I wasn't there for him. Marie says, breaking down what Skylar comforts her. And although nobody would likely admit it out loud, it is kind of Marie's fault if you think about it, because the fact that she was out stealing while her husband was bleeding out in his bed is the first thing that anyone would think of when they're thinking about this situation. Or at least, in my opinion. So while Skylar and Marie talk, she receives a text message from Walter that simply reads, sorry, can't talk right now. Call you when I can. Giving her and the rest of the family some kind of reassurance that Walter is at least okay. But little does she know, that message was actually sent by Mike, and he and Walter would be headed over to the desert location to meet up with Jesse and Gus to talk about their future going forward. And once all together, it really seems that Walter has no allies in this situation, and Gus tells Walter, "Your brother-in-law has been dealt with," and hearing that news causes Walter to drop to his knees crying as Gus continues. Going forward, nobody else would have to die. But to reiterate what I said yesterday, now that Jesse's here, do not come near him or the laundromat again. You're fired. Done. No longer needed. Gus says making it clear to Walter in front of Jesse, letting it be known that it was his idea.
Pay him off or fire him. Don't kill him.
And Jesse, after hearing Gus's demands for Walter, he finds himself siding with Gus, especially given his new purpose as Mike's sidekick. He really feels that he moved beyond Mr. White, and he's a genuine part of the crew. And Jesse tells Walter, "Mr. White, isn't this what you always wanted? To have enough money to take care of your family? Now you can do that and enjoy the time you have left with them, and nobody else has to die." But Walter says nothing, only glaring back at Jesse and Gus and letting out a cough. And Mike would then step in saying, "Walter, you're given a one-way ticket out of here that doesn't involve you being in a box. So for the safety of you and your family, I suggest you take it." And with that, Mike gives Walter back his phone, and him, Gus, and Jesse leave Walter out in the desert, and they all go their separate ways. And once alone, Walter stands in silence for nearly 2 hours thinking.
We gotta go see the captain. Here's your pet. People keep leaving the island. Now that there's land, then the boy named Billy. They'll come back.
Now, Billy
The friends
lives
have
here
already
in the
sent word.
Commonwealth. Wasn't
We're
spared
going
the
to turn
harsh
back the
reality
tide.
that life
You'll
had
see.
ignored the rest of us.
Mariner says the island's alive.
Separated from his family, and then he managed to run into the vault dweller.
First shipment. All
I'm
your
happy to
medical
report that with the vault dweller's help,
guns,
Billy
guns, and
is reunited with his family.
welcome to the big shop.
Stories with happy
You need
endings
any
don't
odds
come
and
along
ends?
all too often. So I hope this one put a smile on your face.
Bertha.
So it did for
Excuse me, ma'am?
Smalls, we
Keep
got
it
no
tuned
time
here,
for you.
folks.
The mainlander cleared
Diamond
out
City
Echo Lake
Radio.
Lumber Mill.
Just when you thought you were safe from Roy Brown, he's back again. This time, it's good.
Why are we even talking to the captain about this?
She's got things we need. We gotta get off the docks, Captain. If you give us some of those Acadian fog condensers, my friends are ready to homestead the lumber mill.
Surviving is about more than taming fog. We gotta stay together, Bertha.
But we're no good here. Harbormen need their own land, something to protect and hold.
I was wrong about you.
What?
Not you. You. Bertha knows this island better than you, Avery. We give folks some condensers, and materials, and a chance to build defenses. And we'll survive all right, and thrive even.
Could this really work?
I don't see why not. And even if it doesn't, instead of starving on a pier, they die on their own land. Give them the fog condensers, Avery.
Well, I won't stop you, but until we deal with the children of Adam, settling the island again, it could blow up in your face. Come, Bertha.
You might want to check up on Echo Lake. Bertha's friends would no doubt welcome you. And take this. You never cease to amaze.
How can the bait shop help you?
The children of Adam are dangerous. Don't trust them.
You been to the tannery? You find my tools yet?
Here are your tools.
A fair bit of luck running into you.
Uh-huh.
Now to work on the hull.
Don't let the island catch you off guard. I like guns. Front, dock and back. Bait shop.
Avery.
It's hard to believe before you came here, all hope seemed lost. But now we've taken back homesteads. People are finally coming together. And all of it, it's all because of you.
You give me too much credit.
Hardly. With all you've done, including the captain's dance, I guarantee you, generations from now, we'll still talk about you. My people are so mired with their own concerns, I don't think they even realize that you saved us. All of us. Anything I give you or do for you, it just isn't enough. But take this, and thank you.
Hey, Bertha. fog condensers are back online.
Good. Our water supply was starting to get low. Wasn't sure how much longer we could hold out. Did you find Howard?
Is there a next of kin? If so, you should notify them.
I should never have let him go out there alone. Well, I said it was paying work. 200 caps should be enough.
Is there anything else I can do to help?
Don't know if you've chatted up the Mariner, but she's always looking for help. I know Cassie Dalton was asking around, but, well, judge for yourself there.
Thanks. Glad I can help you out.
That makes two of us. Now, here's your pay. Gotta start making arrangements for Howard. So I'll say goodbye.
Bring it on. I can take it.
Food, stim packs, fully stocked.
Bertha.
Captain's dance was supposed to only be the stuff of stories.
Avery.
I hope the harbor's being good to you.
You know of anyone that could use some help?
Maybe ask Mitch at the last... Some people at the end...
What's the history of this place?
Well, this whole dock used to belong to the Mariner, and the fog started getting thicker. Family by family, homestead by homestead, people were kicked out of their homes inland. The Mariner was kind enough to let people stay. The harbor just kind of grew out of that charity.
What's there to do in town?
Brooks sells general goods. Teddy Wright's in back of his shop, and he can patch you up if you need it. Besides that, the Last Plank's a popular stop for booze and what have you. And lastly, well, if you need a gun, see Alan Lee.
I have to go.
Be well.
Diamond City Radio wouldn't be possible without the help of some wonderful businesses here in town. Commonwealth Weaponry. It's a world out there. Protect yourself. Protect your family. Here's the 5 stars with Atom Bomb Baby.